Samantha always dreamed of her wedding being filled with laughter and love. She never cared about ballrooms, chandeliers, or $1,000 flowers. What mattered most to her was standing with James, the man she adored since college. They decided to host their wedding in James's backyard under the big oak tree. It was the place where he first confessed his love and where she said yes to his proposal. They strung fairy lights across the fence, rented simple wooden chairs, and borrowed tables from friends. The menu was home cooked with the help of neighbors who offered their kitchens and ovens. When Samantha told her family about the plan, she expected them to smile at the intimacy. Instead, her mother scoffed, crossing her arms and shaking her head. "Backyard wedding, it's for poor people," she sneered, refusing to even look at the invitations. Her father said nothing, but the silence was enough to cut through Samantha's chest. Her cousins texted cruel jokes, calling it a barbecue, not a wedding. Her brother flat out said he would not show up to eat hot dogs in the dirt. The cruelest words came when her mother whispered, "I'm embarrassed to invite anyone to this." Tears stung Samantha's eyes, but James wrapped his arm around her and promised she wasn't alone. They went ahead with the plan, determined to celebrate their love no matter who came. On the morning of the wedding, the chairs were set, the food was warm, and music played softly. Only a handful of friends arrived, yet their smiles filled the yard with warmth. Samantha looked around and felt a pang, knowing her family had chosen pride over love. But when she saw James waiting under the oak tree, her doubts faded. The ceremony began, and she walked barefoot down the short aisle, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Their vows were whispered between tears and laughter, more real than anything money could buy. As they kissed, the small group cheered louder than any ballroom full of strangers. Suddenly the gate creaked open and more people began walking in. It was the neighbors from down the street, bringing trays of food and pitchers of lemonade. Then came James's co-workers carrying folding chairs and gifts wrapped in simple paper. Soon the yard was overflowing with people, most of whom Samantha had never expected. They were not blood relatives, but they came with genuine love and open arms. Someone even hired a local band who showed up and began to play lively music. The backyard glowed with lights and voices, the night turning magical beyond imagination. Samantha wiped her tears, realizing she was surrounded by a family she had chosen, not one she was born into. James held her close, whispering, "See, we don't need anyone who doesn't value us." As the night went on, neighbors danced, children played, and laughter filled every corner. Photos captured not luxury but authenticity, the kind of joy money could never buy. Later, Samantha's phone buzzed with messages from her mother demanding to know how the wedding went. Samantha replied with a single picture of her and James laughing under the oak tree, surrounded by dozens of smiling faces. Her mother never responded, but the silence spoke volumes of regret. Weeks later, whispers spread about how beautiful the backyard wedding had been. Even strangers who saw the pictures said it looked magical, simple yet filled with love. Samantha's cousins, who had mocked her earlier, began asking if she would share photos online. She never replied, choosing instead to keep those memories private and sacred. Her brother tried to defend himself, saying he thought she would regret it, but she did not. In truth, Samantha and James looked back on that night as the most perfect choice they ever made. Their marriage grew strong because it was built on resilience, not approval. They learned that family isn't always blood, sometimes it's the people who show up when others walk away. Years later, when they told their children about the wedding, they smiled with pride. It became a story not of shame but of courage, choosing love over ego. Meanwhile, Samantha's mother sat in bitterness, realizing she had missed her daughter's most important day. The regret haunted her, but pride kept her from ever admitting it aloud. By then, Samantha no longer waited for her acceptance because she had found peace elsewhere. The backyard where it all happened became a sacred space for anniversaries and birthdays. Every time they lit the fairy lights, Samantha remembered how strangers had become family. She realized the cruel words "poor people" had led to the richest night of her life. And in the end, the oak tree that witnessed their vows stood taller than any ballroom chandelier ever could.